everyone, Scrappy Kathy here with another Mixed Media Frenzy. And I will confess to you that today I expect to fully be in a frenzy because this layout I, I think is gorgeous, but it's so outside my wheelhouse. Normally I would say, in fact, when I looked at it, I thought, okay, I'll do different embellishments and different colors and different whatever. But when I watched the video done by Marilyn Rivera for my creative scrapbook using their kit, granted everything was all coordinated and she used all bits and pieces of the kit, I thought, wow, that's gorgeous. And I had many of those materials and I thought I could do something, and I thought, wouldn't it be even more of a challenge if I did something outside my comfort zone? So the photo I'm working with is this one. That's a very heavily edited, really bad, it's a filtered, very bad phone photo of my grandson Barrett right after he had been brought home after 9 days of not knowing whether he was going to make it or not, because he couldn't breathe on his own. So when he got out of NICU, he came home and he just kind of laid on top of this printed pillow and just hugged it. And when I printed it, I had no idea how I was going to use it, but I thought it kind of went with this color scheme, and I thought I'd sort of work with that. So here's what I've got to work with. I've got that photo. I'm going to put that aside. I found a sheet of cut aparts from a paper pad, and I have no idea what paper pad because I'd torn it out and put it in my stash. And I cut out these 3 strips and this that says "Just Like Daddy," and I'll use those. I'm also going to be doing this to Calvinball rules, and I'll do the ones that I know about on the layout today on camera, and then I'll keep the layout around for another day or two. This will be going live on Friday. I'm filming this on Wednesday, so I've got Wednesday's rules. I will add Thursday and Friday's rules so that I have every rule that Calvinball has active that I can possibly fit on the page then. So there will be some things on the final layout when it gets published that you didn't see me add in this video. So that's a little disclaimer there. I have many things that I'm going to use, and one thing I'm going to do right away is, in the original, she's got an actual physical ViewMaster slide. I have a stencil of a ViewMaster slide, so I'm going to trace that, and I'm going to trace it with a white pen, and I'm going to try to embellish around it such that I'm kind of expecting the photo will go there. I'm going to try to embellish around it such that I don't lose it, lose this look. And there will be some, I'm going to, as soon as I'm done with this tracing, I'm going to use a medium. I think I've got multi-matte medium from Ranger. And I expect that medium to somewhat alter the color of the white, but there should be a bit of, it should show but be subtle. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A little bit of an arrow there, and that's a Calvinball requirement, so I may not need any other arrows. And as I'm tracing this, I'm not really trying to do perfect lines. It's meant to look maybe hand-drawn, and so I'm kind of intentionally making some mistakes. We've got that. We've got another little arrow here. Okay, so that's on there, and I'm making something of a mess of it, which is fine. You can't really see the arrows, but you can see little blotches. Okay, one stencil in the tub. I keep a little tub of soapy water when I'm using stencils so that I don't have to run off and wash them in between uses, because I do my videos kind of live. Okay, so my medium is pretty thick. I'm going to, Marilyn used thin paper. This actually is, let me tell you what my paper is. It's kind of mixed media looking there. It's from a Bo Bunny collection called A Gift of Love, and this particular pattern is Delilah, You and Me. And I can't tell what year it's from, but I'm going to go back to 2011, 2012, something like that. So I'm going to just kind of go over the paper, and my brush strokes with this medium are kind of looking a little like their brush strokes. And my medium isn't tinted, but it's going to add enough of a slightly different, it's also matte, so it's going to add enough of a slightly different sheen that it'll kind of look like another layer of the same brush strokes that are in the pattern paper. So that's done there. Now the very next thing I'm going to do, because I want to do it up front, not after I have the paper on, I want to do some Tidy Swap Color Shine, and I'm going to just do a few sprays there, and then I'm going to blot. I don't necessarily need them to stand out, but I like what they do and kind of how they look when there's that medium on there. So that looks nice. You'll notice that in the original, and if you watch the video, she has these, she fussy cut some flowers from some pattern papers in the kit, and she has these Prima flowers that are in the kit. So I have a kind of a box of just lots of old Prima flowers, and I added some little stamens there. I'm not sure how that's gonna go on there. Might let that show. I've just kind of layered some of them up. I may not use all of them, but these are ones that kind of go with the color scheme I'm going with. And then there's this one, which kind of doesn't look like it belongs, so I may not use it. But I have lots of those, and I have some pearls to put in the centers if I do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually lay down the photo, and I'm going to do the, let's see how I want to do this. I will do this so that the doily is kind of right there. And then this gives me some layering room for some maybe squared pieces, and I have a frame that I have to include per Calvinball rules. So let me put this, the medium is wet enough, that doily will probably stick. It definitely is sticking. So now let me put some foam behind my photo, and scissors would be helpful for that. I think this works. It just absolutely amazed me when Marilyn did a lot of the texturing around the photo cluster after she had adhered the photo. And so I'm going to try that. I don't know. She was kind of lifting the doily and sticking the stencil kind of underneath it. Okay. And I thought I would do this. I'm going to distress the edges of this kind of antique-y look. I distressed around the photo with black, and if I had that to do over again, I would, but I'm kind of okay with it. We'll get this here. That'll go down on there. I want something to go here, and I need a frame. So in my little bucket of Calvinball requirements, I think I have a piece of a frame that I cut off during my last project. So I'm going to see if I can do it. Okay, I'll have to put it at an angle. And that's kind of okay. Let me see if that would work. That actually would work. And so what if it runs into the doily? I can put a flower there if I need to. John, I think that's your phone. We need to put 2 phones on silent, I guess, when I do videos. I'm going to put it's like the horizontal piece. I like this yardstick look there. So let me cut part of that off. What did I do with my scissors? Did I put them away? I don't think so. Let me cut it off at 9 inches. And this already has kind of a finish. It's a sort of a laminated finish that came that way in the paper pad. So let me do this. That works. And then I really like this that says growing like a weed, so I kind of want to use a bit of that. Kind of offset it a bit there, which kind of makes sense with the, and you can't really read the whole message, and that's okay. Now this is going to be my title, and it's one of the Calvinball requirements is for song lyrics or song title. And this actually has the lyrics to You Are My Sunshine. And that was the state song. It was written by the governor, Governor Jimmy Davis of the great state of Louisiana, where I grew up. And it was a song I heard many times in my childhood. I'm trying to layer it underneath these other layers because I want to get the whole thing on there. And let me now cut that off. Okay, so I can do it. I've made the room under there. Let's add a little tape and see if we can get it to actually stick. And I like how it's kind of running up to the gold color shine spray. Okay, there we go. Now, before I do too much else, I've already got my title on there. This "You Are My Sunshine" is what I'm going to use for a title. And I've got my white ink pen. Let me start doing the flowers. I'll do that layering. I've got kind of this kind of done. My doily, a lot of my doily is showing, so I expect to cover that with some flowers. I've got a few of these things to add to flowers if we need to. Actually, do I want to do that? Sure, we'll do some flowers up in this area. For example, I can use this one. I already mounted them when I put the top layers on. I mounted them on a foam dot. These are really large, and I think I kind of need something large, maybe right up in here, and I can do some of the texturing under that. There's some words I don't want to cover up, so I'm not going to do the big part here. I'm probably going to do mine up in here. So that's good, and again, I think the medium might be wet enough to hold that, but if not, let me do, nope, that's not good. Don't try to do that on, okay, let me do a pop dot. And it can stand up. I'm gonna kind of insert, well, maybe I'll have these guys sticking up and out. I have some dies that actually have what looks like floral greenery that might have been good to kind of, see, she's got these stamens and this bit of ribbon or twine kind of traveling down it. It's a nice look. It's kind of feminine, I agree. But, okay, so I'm going to do that. I thought I'd try it out, and I ended up not liking it. I almost had to use it upside down because there were actual flowers on it. So let me do this up here. This one I put together upside down. This one had completely come apart, so I just glued it. I put some liquid glue and stuck it all together so as not to lose it or waste it. Okay, and I'm using a lot of that orange, which I actually like. I've got this one already built, and then there are a few others that I could put on if I so chose. I like the idea of this one maybe going right here, and it can cover the words there. And then maybe I will do one of these plainer ones. Maybe right there, it's too big. How about I do this yellow one that kind of goes with these are flowers that have been stamped, and I did that a long time ago, and I put them away and just kind of forgot about them. I'll do that pearl, and I'll put a little tape down there. Okay, and is there anything else that maybe something like, how about here? Or this one has lots of colors we haven't used, but that might look nice, and I can put a white pearl in the middle of that. I've pulled out some pearls that seem like they might be nice in the textured part. I may still yet use a few more flowers kind of down in here for balance. I'm not liking where I put that, so I'm going to have to overlap it with something else. And I have some little tiny green, what I call seed flowers, that I can, let me do that one right there. And then these little guys kind of have to be put on. I'm doing this, they're completely made of ribbon, and I'm putting those on to satisfy a requirement for the color green from Calvinball. And I'm just going to kind of glue them up into those. And I've used that color aqua, the pale aqua, elsewhere, so let me put this actually on the paper. Sometimes when you put liquid glue on fabric items, the fabric absorbs the glue before it has a chance to stick to the paper. So I'm hoping, starting with the paper first, I can avoid that. Okay, there. Let me put one over in here. I'm really piling on flowers because a lot of what Calvinball inspires me to do is to use my stash, and I have a larger than necessary stash of these kinds of flowers, and I really don't use them very often. So I thought this layout and Calvinball are a good excuse. I'm going to put one here because it reflects the color of his little onesie that he's wearing in the photo. And I'm covering up my frame, but I'll leave enough exposed that it's a legitimate claim for my Calvinball score. I'm going to try gluing that on top of the doily. Okay, so I think all of those will stick. Now I'm going to take my next stencil. Where did I actually put my stencils? They're here underneath too many other things. I've got a couple stencils I thought I would use. One is this Starburst stencil. They're both from Paige Evans, and the other is this mandala. And I thought maybe I could do let's see. If I do this here, it's going to be kind of backwards, but all I'm going for is texture, not design. So let me, and I think for this stencil, I'm going to use this copper-colored Bo Bunny glitter paste. Oh, I'm not either. It is hard as a rock. Okay, that goes in the trash. So, we'll change our minds here and do some of this. These are the glass beads. I want to use those later. Here's my texture paste. Okay. It's the whole lid is coming up. Let me unscrew it. Okay. We'll do this very lightly through here just to kind of get some texture out there. Okay, that looks good, except I'd kind of like some looking like it was turning outward, which that one didn't. Okay, so there we go. And I can, ooh, I got some on the top of, because I've got the doily showing so much over here, I thought maybe I would use the stars over in this area and down here. And so let me do another tiny bit of stenciling right in here. Okay. I'm going to turn it around, put that stencil in the water, and I'm going to get this and wipe. I've got a little bit here, and because it's just texture, I'm not going to be too precise about things. Now, let me go here. And do some stars. I'll try not to cover the words, but again, kind of getting a little bit of texture there. Not going to get all the stars filled in perfectly. But there are a few. Let me go around here and do the same thing. I'm doing glass beads again. Let me not do that. Okay, and I've let that kind of go almost out to the edges. I think it does go out to the edges in some places. So that'll be the okay. There we go. Now, let me do some cleanup. I have that in the water and that in the water. I'm done using that. I will use the paintbrush for everything else. I'll put the lid back on here. I see some areas that I'd like to add some balance to. Let me cover up my glue so it works next time I try to use it. I've got a little bit of texture paste down here. I'm going to wipe it off here. Okay. I kind of like, I can see the gold Heidi Shine here, and there's some up here behind that area. I want to add some of this glass bead look in some of these areas that look a bit, and my paintbrush is a little stiff because I used it for the medium and I didn't rinse it out. Let me get it a little moist. So let me kind of just do some of it around each flower cluster with the glass beads. Let me see, right up close to the flowers, and it'll kind of serve, in Marilyn's video, she used some gesso to lighten areas, kind of like a highlighter when you're applying makeup. And it really made a difference in making things stand out. And I'm doing the same thing, not with gesso, but with these glass beads. Now, when this dries, it kind of looks like I'm just put on some kind of medium here, and but when it dries, there will be a sheen from the glass beads, as the name would imply. Okay, and I'm going to also, I've got things sticking to my page, which just kind of adds to the distressed look, right? I'm going to follow some of the brush strokes in the patterned paper with the glass beads, and I've never done that before, but why not try it now, right? I'm kind of following in, and some of the area that I'm touching has medium, the medium I put on a while ago, and some of it doesn't. Okay, let me turn it back around, and now I'm going to start. I think I've finished the prompt, or the challenge, the Mixed Media Frenzy sketch challenge, or the actual inspiration. I'm happy with what I've got in here that's true to the sketch. I'm going to put my flowers away. One of the requirements is to use a date stamp. I've got my date stamp set, and I'm going to see if I can place it carefully enough right here. And I have to correct it. I don't have a stamp that has the year 2004. So I do 2014 and turn that into a 0, turn the 1 into a 0. That's kind of cheesy, but it's it has to be done. There's a requirement for ice cream, and I have this little, it used to be a Brad. I think it was also from a Bo Bunny collection that had a bunch of sweet treats and cakes and cookies and pies and things like that, and ice cream. And Ava pretty much stole that entire collection from me. She loved using, she didn't so much love eating sweets. She does now, but she didn't then. But she liked scrapping with pictures of sweets. So I'm just going to kind of nestle that in there. There's a requirement for washi tape, a requirement for the color green, and a requirement for shamrock. So So I've got this washi tape that has shamrocks on it, and I'm going to try to sneak it in someplace that it won't show too much. I'm going to tear that in half and kind of stick it up in here, and I'll put some other embellishments. I'll stick it here under these flowers, kind of. There we go. And it's up there, and you and I know it's up there. I'll add some of the other, embellishments that I need. This is there's a requirement for a geometric print, and I figure a kind of checker plaid like that qualifies as geometric. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to sneak it over here and cover up some of that let me tear it, actually. And then I'm going to use 2 pieces, I believe. I'll do this. Okay, here we go. There we go. And then this isn't a Calvinball. Well, hi, Reese. My puppy dog just came in. This isn't a requirement for Calvinball or the sketch, but his name is Barrett, and we call him B. So I try to put a B on all of his layouts. So I'm going to stick that B in there. There's a requirement for enamel dots, and I've got a lot of these in a color that I don't normally use. Trouble getting. I knew this was going to happen, that somebody would need to talk to me. Like I said, there's a lot going on. I kind of put these all around. Use this entire strip, and there will be lots more. There she goes. And now the little tiny ones. Okay, I'm filming here, guys. I'm filming here. Okay, there we go. Almost done with that. And let's look at what else. There's a requirement for a house. And I've got this kind of peachy colored house that I'm gonna stick maybe. It's the problem with the medium, it doesn't. I'll maybe put it right here. And I'm gonna add the flamingo, which I cut out of vellum this morning. I'll put the flamingo right here by the bee. And what's happening is I'm kind of overlaying the get that down. I'm overlaying the ViewMaster. Now there's a requirement for circles. The arrow requirement, did I satisfy that already? I'm going to just choose a tiny little wooden arrow. And his last name is Wooden, so it's kind of appropriate. Let's see if I can get that off. This is an old Simple Stories. Okay, doesn't stand out too much, and that's good. There's a circle requirement, so I think I'm going to try to squeeze this circle in maybe right here a little bit. Again, kind of with the goal of covering up more of that doily. So stick underneath these flowers. I've put so much medium around, including the glass beads, that it's not fitting in there very well. But I think I can do that. I think I will, you get the idea of kind of what Calvinball's like. You kind of make your layout the way you want it, and then you start squeezing things in places that they won't look too out of place, if you will. Okay, so I can bring that back, and that gives me a little touch of that aqua color up there, and that works. Let's do a quick check of Calvinball rules. I always do overlapping hearts, and I don't want to make an exception here. So I have these, which are in the right color scheme. I like this, and let me do a smaller, lighter colored one. Let me angle that one properly, and put that one there. Okay, and she used sequins as well, and then some paint splatters. So I'm gonna, before I do Calvinball rules, there's no rule for sequins right now. I'm just gonna put a few dots of liquid glue and in existing clusters and kind of go with that. Because I have the stars, which she didn't have on hers, I don't need as many sequins and other jewels. I've got some clear ones and some white ones. I'll just kind of put something where there'll be a little bit of sheen. I've got kind of a Christmassy mix that I threw together, and it's got, that's where most of my white sequins are to be found. And I know I have another one over there somewhere. I'll pick this kind of holographic clear one. Okay, there we go. And now, instead of white and pink paint, I'm gonna use this to cover up my photo. I'm gonna go with a white ink, and then maybe go over it with another okay. I'm hoping that didn't interrupt. I'm running out of power on my phone, so that, and then I have an ink that is It's not here. I have a different gold by Mr. Huey's. What I was looking for, I have an ink that is it's a really brown, deep, it's kind of used for printers ink sometimes. Okay. Got the gold on there, and I will go through the Calvinball rules. I'll just quickly go. White lettering or gel pen, I used the gel pen as you saw. A frame, I have a piece of a frame there. Stencil, I've used around there. Arrow, I've got right there. Date stamp I've used. Circle, I've cut into pieces and used it. Enamel dots, die cut, I have my die cut flamingo. Geometric pattern paper, which is my check here, and there's also this kind of zigzag behind the Just Like Daddy. And song title and lyrics, I've got my You Are My Sunshine. Starred, I have stars all over the place. Gold foil, somewhere in there I should have a gold foil crayon. Yes, I have this gold foil that I cut. I used my crown punch to cut this little gold crown, and I will stick it on there with a bit of glue. Where should it belong? I'm going to kind of put it over here to add to this cluster over here on top of the doily. Okay, so there's that. The crown, I've got the ice cream, I've got washi tape under there. Baby, there's certainly a baby here. The color green is in there. Multicolored title, You Are My Sunshine, is not multicolored, and I could make it multicolored by writing over, and I will do this after. I'll write over the word you here and here, so that'll be that, and I'll write over it with black ink. I could actually do that now. And the flamingo I've got, so this gives me my multicolored title. And okay, so, and I'll underline it to emphasize the word you. Okay, I think I've got all today's Calvinball rules. When new ones come out tomorrow and Friday, I'll put those on, and you'll see that when I actually post the layout. So thank you very much for watching. See you next Friday, and hopefully there's one that's a little bit more in my wheelhouse. But I love it. I really do love it. Bye.